So this weekend was the Bahrain Grand Prix. It was not very hot over there. It was a slightly colder track temperature. However, where I'm filming this here, it is like summer. So I need to figure out which shades I want to wear. It is absolutely boiling outside at the moment, actually. But anyways, let's move on. I put out my first video in quite a while, a week ago, and I got such positive comments and feedback, such as he returned graciously to give us his questionable views, and that's what this is all about. Having questionable takes and looking... I was gonna say looking good, but moving on. So, we start off with Alpine. Their car is... well, it's a canoe, honestly. It's not very... I mean, listening to Pierre Gasly, it's not very good in the corners. So much traction, braking isn't great. Other than that, fantastic car. So they were, to me, surprisingly, absolutely terrible. They managed to climb up a bit throughout the race, which was nice, but for my F1 fantasy team, I chose Pierre Gasly as one of my drivers. A very disappointing choice, unfortunately. So my F1 fantasy is not looking very good at the moment, especially also because I chose Leclerc, because I thought he would do better than Sainz, but Sainz decided that he would be amazing and race for him, and Leclerc decided that his car wouldn't be able to brake. That's probably not a very good way of summing it up, but Carlos Sainz, amazing job from him. I mean, I know that the obvious thing would go Max Verstappen drive of the day, but Sainz was more exciting to me. I absolutely love that. I hope he does more of that, of course. I mean, looking at how close they were in the standings last season, I think if Carlos Sainz decides to not be a Ferrari team player, but a Carlos Sainz team player, he could be finishing ahead of Leclerc by the end of the season. Moving on. What else? Oh my goodness, there's George Russell being delightfully wonderful at the beginning and then slipping down further. So that was a bit disappointing, but when he overtook Leclerc, I was jumping up and down with glee, as one does. And that was very, very exciting. Of course, Mercedes, I expected them to do better. I really thought with all of their cool new innovations, but they were having some problems with cooling throughout the weekend. So that is something that McLaren did not face. McLaren pulling off a pretty good race, though of course they were slower than the Mercedeses in the end. But the Williams engine unit also was overheating, so that Mercedes thing is not going quite so right. Logan Sargent, I thought was going to give us our first safety car of the season, but turned out he was just bad. Lance Stroll. I'm surprised that I'm saying this. He seriously impressed me. He was facing the wrong way after having an incident with Nico Hülkenberg. Not super clear who's at fault. I mean, Nico Hülkenberg did hit him, but should, Stroll have left more space? Not really sure. But in the end, Stroll was facing the wrong way. Managed to get 10th, just a little bit behind Fernando Alonso. So, that he's just behind Fernando Alonso after being way behind at the start of the race. Either Lance Stroll is a deity, or he had a better strategy, or Fernando Alonso was just struggling by the end. Because I'm not willing to say that he's a deity, I'm going to point out the fact that Fernando Alonso was struggling at one point. He was doing a very long second stint, I believe, and, we saw him get overtaken and overtaken and overtaken. So it was interesting to see how, as the race progressed, we saw really where the cars are. Max Verstappen was here and Perez was here, but by the end, they got a 1-2. Russell, started third. At one point he was second. In the end, he and Hamilton were closer together. What was it, like 5th and 7th? Something like that. Yeah, and it was just interesting how, we kind of got to see the top 10 were pretty much, it was like Red Bull, Ferrari, and then it was, I think, Mercedes, McLaren, Aston Martin. So, I know some people have said that the race was a snooze fest. I would not despair just yet, though. I think that there were some really exciting things. I think the midfield is not just a midfield anymore. There's sort of two midfields if you think about it. There's the people who are sort of there for the lower points, and the people who go from, they span from 8th place all the way up to 3rd place. Red Bull are the team to beat. That is quite sad. I did not think that on the first race of the season Max Verstappen will win by 20 seconds. If that happens next race, I will possibly launch into a deep depression. But there were some very, very positive things to come out of this race. Can't think of any, but there must have been. No, I enjoyed the race, but we'll see how things go next time. The real questions on everyone's minds, and by everyone's I mean mine, will be, can anyone beat Red Bull? Will Aston Martin get their act a bit more together? Because they were 9th, 10th at the end. Really, I think everyone was expecting a bit more. Will Alpine get things sorted out? And what's going on at Haas? It's so sad. It's so every single year, and I was imagining the Drive to Survive episode as I was watching the race, just thinking how Nico Hulkenberg qualifies 10th, and then immediately his race is pretty much ruined from lap 1, from turn 1. Also, Valtteri Bottas, he has some trouble with pit stops. I don't know what that was about. That must have been the most demotivating thing of all time. You're running in like the sort of the high teens, or he was somewhere in the teens, I think, and then or low teens rather, because that's better because 11th. Yeah. Anyways, and then you just have a minute-long pit stop, and then you think, oh. And yet he still finished ahead of one of the Alpines. Okay, I'm gonna stop before I do any more ranting, because the race doesn't warrant more than 7 minutes of me talking. So I will see you next time. Yeah, let's see how things go. Bye.